Days after Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah held a meeting of various revenue-generating departments of his government, the Congress government in the state has issued a notification hiking sales tax on petroleum and petrol and diesel in the state. As a result, petrol and diesel prices have gone up by Rs 3 and Rs 3.5 respectively. Now, as experts have always pointed out, lower income households and poor households spend a lot of their budgets, more on their budgets on transportation and other necessities than higher earners. This is what data has also shown. So this hike is clearly a problem for the middle class and the poor. Following the revision, the petrol price in Bengaluru now is at Rs 102.84 per litre, which is up from Rs 99.84, while the diesel price is at Rs 88.95, which is up from Rs 85.93. With this revision, the government has said that it expects to generate around 2,000 crore for this fiscal year. Now, State Minister for Commerce and Industries M.B. Patil has justified his government's decision to raise fuel prices, stating that this move aims to support the state's guarantee schemes and developmental projects. But there is also politics that is being played out. Opposition BJP has decided to hold a statewide protest on Monday against this move. Union Heavy Industries and Steel Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy of JDS has said that the hike was effected to finance the state government's guarantee schemes. In fact, we are asking callers to talk to us about the challenges that they face and the impact this move will have on their lives. The first caller is from Bengaluru, Moses. Thank you, Moses, for calling in. Tell us, what are your concerns and how do you see this move?
Ma'am, good evening. It's definitely going to be impact all the segments, especially a middle class. There is no doubt about it. And I don't want to comment on anything because it definitely impacts. My only concern is, and the different parties are politicizing about an opposition on this, they have no right to do it. They've been, if you look at the past history of these people, they have no right to do it because they have been doing this whenever the international marketplace fall on crude oil. The government of India will never reduce. Even in the countries, neighboring countries to small countries like other countries are less than our thing. Before they talk and, protest in Bangalore, they should do it on this. Same time, our present government, they should do something and they should take care of reducing this price and bring it to this. And they need to find a ways and means to get increase for the requirement. So definitely it's going to affect our life.
Right. Thank you, Moses, for joining us. Also, let me go across to Rajlakshmi Joshi, who is a political analyst, supports the BJP. Also, Syed Asad Abbas, who supports the Congress party. Rajlakshmi, tell us, this hike that has happened in Karnataka, and with the government saying that this will help the government bring in a lot of developmental moves, also fulfill its guarantees, and the centre hitting out at the state government, saying that it is because of the failures of the state government in implementing the Congress guarantees. How do you see this political war over something like this that is clearly impacting people's lives, especially of the middle class and the poor?
Good evening, Vasudha. And, it is a very sad situation because the same people, that is the Congress, Mr. Siddaramaiah, before he came to power, he was requesting the Bombay government, or he was demanding the Bombay government to reduce the fuel prices by 3 rupees. And now today, and that also he waited for the elections results to come out. And after that, they have come out with these, increase in the rates. So, and, this is quite clearly a case where they announced the freebies, they announced some...
Rajlakshmi, I'm really sorry. Let's go to another caller now. She's just checked in. I'll come back to you in a bit. Joining us now is also Uma, a caller from Bengaluru. Ma'am, how do you see this move to hike fuel prices? And tell us, how is this going to impact your life?
First of all, let me tell you the stupidity on part of the Chief Minister to bring in this move. They should have hiked it. During the election, they had promised lot of freebies, which is just, they shouldn't have done it actually. And now we people living in Karnataka should bear the brunt for the stupidity of the present government. I think they should call this.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Uma, for joining us, for calling us. Back to you, Rajlakshmi. You were saying that, Siddaramaiah also has made it very clear that taxes on fuel remain low even now compared to other southern states. How do you look at that?
I beg to differ, Vasudha, because see, I can see a stark difference in the rates in the BJP ruled states and in the states. Like, for example, just let me give you the statistics. Like, for example, in Uttar Pradesh, the same petrol it will cost you 94.56 per liter. In Gujarat, it will be 94.31. In Uttarakhand, 93.48. And whereas in the states that are ruled by either the India Alliance or the Congress, like for example in Karnataka you have 102.84 rupees per liter, in Telangana it is 107.41, and in Tamil Nadu 100.75. So there is a difference of at least 10 rupees per liter, Vasudha, which is unexplainable, and the only explanation is that they had miscalculated how they're going to generate the revenue for fulfilling the guarantees that they had come about, all these guarantees, 2,000 rupees per month.
Lakshmi, I'll come back to you, and also to Asad. We have Captain Jakpal joining us from Rohtak. He's also a caller who has just called in. Sir, how do you see this fuel price hike, and what kind of impact does this have on your household expenses?
Good evening to you. It is to pay the Peter, you have to rob someone. Middle class that starts accepting money for casting a vote, they have to pay through their notes, and all civic amenities go for a fix. It is not only the petrol. He has called all the revenue generating officials, and you will find the rates will go up everywhere. And here you may permit me to quote, Mr. Karnataka distributed free television, and India launched a campaign on 2G, and Karnataka lost his chair to Jayalalitha. These people are very short-sighted. There is lack of leadership. There is lack of honesty. Thank you.
Right. Vishwanath from Hyderabad also joins us, another caller. Mr. Vishwanath, how do you see the present hike in Karnataka in petrol and diesel prices? Karnataka is seen as the IT capital of the country. Clearly, essential commodities will also be dearer now. So what kind of impact will this have on families and people like us?
See, this has a cascading effect, and it always has. I'm a senior citizen. In the past, I have lived for quite some years in Bangalore. And the way it is going, it is like, robbing Peter to pay Paul. These type of measures are short-term and knee-jerk, and they are actually not in any way creating wealth. They should look at very productive ways of generating revenue rather than, making good these type of freebie that have come about in their, manifestos for the sake of garnering votes. So it is all coming back to haunt them, right? So it is all very misplaced, and it's unfortunate it is setting a precedent all across, and these populist measures are actually finally burning a big hole in the common man's pocket. I hope realizations comes by quickly to the electorate, who are also becoming very wise to these type of populist measures, which is actually taking money from one hand and, in a way, they give in one hand and take it away from the other hand. So it is actually very self-defeating. And I hope there will be some sort of, common, or what do I say? How do we get all political parties to come to reason that these measures will not take the country far,
Right. That's Mr. Vishwanath making a very important point that instead of politicizing the matter, the poor and the middle class have to be thought about. Thank you, Mr. Vishwanath, for joining us. Asad Abbas, tell us, your chief minister is facing a lot of heat because there are videos being floated of him, criticizing such fuel hikes in the past. But clearly, he has also defended his move, saying that this is because of reduced revenue for Karnataka, which is something that the centre has responded to earlier. How do you see the politics over this matter, and do you think the timing could have been a bit better for the government because elections are just over and you have introduced something like this?
Vasudha ji, I've always believed with great power there is great responsibility and equal accountability. The fact of the matter, we need to understand that the Siddaramaiah government, along with DK Shivkumar, came along with 5 guarantee schemes, which is Gruha Lakshmi, Gruha Jyoti, Anna Bhagya, Nari Shakti, Yuva Nidhi. And yes, all those schemes have been successfully implemented. And I, as a citizen of this beautiful country of India, me being a Kannadiga all my life, over 3 decades, I can tell you that what do we see here? Shri Siddaramaiah ji in his statement to the press mentioned that if you compare Karnataka state with the other state, it is quite similar to the rates. Let me quickly give you the anecdote of the rates here. Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, petrol is at rupees 107.56.
Right.
Diesel corresponding to 96.58. He also compared the state of Karnataka to Maharashtra.
Right.
Siddaramaiah's statement is that we are a similar size economy. So therefore, the Karnataka, even then, is much lesser in petrol and diesel compared to a Maharashtra. Whereas a Maharashtra, amongst the devolution of taxes, receives much more from the central government than Karnataka. Many a times, the DK Shivkumar government, the Deputy Chief Minister and the Chief Minister Ramaiah have pleaded to the government for the transfer of funds.
Okay,
Which is
Abbas,
not
you'll have to
taking
just hold
place.
on to your thought. We have another caller coming in, Sujata Agnihotri. Sujata ma'am, tell us, what do you think about this fuel price hike in Bengaluru, Karnataka, and how is this going to impact the lives of your family members?
Thank you for so that I got an opportunity to articulate my feelings. This is really appalling and ridiculous that middle class people like us are suffering because of this fuel hike. Of course, at ground level, they did promise various schemes and policies, Congress government, but this is not acceptable. My grandfather was an ex-MLA from Congress itself. But nowadays, I support BJP because I don't see any kind of growth in Karnataka, Bangalore. It's completely halt. There is no progress at all. It is we are literally suffering here from these crises, and this is not acceptable. Increase in fuel price is really ridiculous. Where will we go? Where will the middle class people go? How will we survive when our salary hikes are not happening? When our revisions are not happening? Then how will we manage to pay these additional crises that comes our way?
Right. Thank you, Sujata, for calling in. Also, we have another caller, Deepak from Mysuru. Deepak, tell us, how is this going to impact your lives? And also give us an idea of the kind of budget that you have set aside for conveyance. And, with this fuel price hike, how do you see that increasing in the next few months?
So actually the thing is, since we are middle class families, our savings don't, match up to the expectations of a high class family. So then we are not able to save that much amount of money for fuel expenditure and all those things. If it is 104, 103 rupees, it will definitely burn the pockets. And then the state government has just introduced certain freebies during elections. But since my mother could not have the ration card, we could not get the Gruha Lakshmi Yojana to be benefited for our family. I have got the ration card, my mother is not having ration card, but. So and then the ration card is also not getting made in Karnataka nowadays.
Okay. We have another caller. Thank you, Deepak. We have another caller, Harish, now joining us from Bengaluru. Harish, what were your first reactions when you heard of this fuel price hike? Now, this is not something that's new to Indians. This is something that the government keeps doing. But did you expect it? Did you set aside anything? And how are you going to manage the kind of hike that has happened? And what kind of impact will this have on your household expenses?
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Thank you for calling. So any kind of hikes in Karnataka was always expected because of the freebies given by the Karnataka government. So somewhere they have to generate the revenue. So it has been kind of expected, but this is going to burn a big hole in the day-to-day commute and the expenditures will go up. It's not only the fuel price, right? So all the hotel expenses will go up. Because of the transportation charges, vegetable prices are already high in Bangalore, cost of living is high in Bangalore. So this is going to add a lot of problem to the middle class.
Okay, thank you so much, Harish, for joining us. Also going back to Asad before I come to Raj Lakshmi. Asad, you heard what the callers had to say. Many of them, I agree that they could be coming from a specific class of society and, welfare may mean different to different people. But clearly, how is the Congress government going to address something like this? Because middle class is also growing and the Congress government will have to think about them while it is thinking about the poor sections of the society.
Absolutely, Vasudhaji. I couldn't agree with you on the more front. This reminds me of a quote of George Washington, who once said, "When you do the most common things in life in the most uncommon way, you command the attention of the world." And I see the same thing happening with the Congress government, ably led by Siddaramaiah ji. He, in a statement to the media, also mentioned that a state like Karnataka to a Maharashtra, which are both building economy, undoubtedly Maharashtra is much larger in terms of giving the taxes and revenues to the central government. But he blamed the Baswaraj by Bommai government and Yediyurappa, who was a former chief minister, that they have been diverting the funds of this Karnataka to the other states. The allocation has been poorly. And when Karnataka needs the taxes for its welfare schemes, they are not able to. Not just that. As a matter of fact, my dear friend Rajlakshmi ji mentioned, but she does not know that in the states of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, which are ruling under the BJP, the diesel price is much higher than Karnataka. Also, we need to understand when it comes to the VAT, value added tax. In Maharashtra, they add a tax of rupees 25 plus additional of 5.21. And also, if you look at the overall front, even a Maharashtra is much higher than a Karnataka.
Right.
So therefore, we need to
Okay,
understand.
Abbas, we have another caller now. After that, I go to Raj Lakshmi. We have Irfan from Hyderabad. Irfan, you're calling us from Hyderabad, which also is in a Congress-ruled state now. Fuel prices have been stable there. Tell us, what do you think of the fuel price hike that has happened in Karnataka? How do you see this move, and what kind of impact does this have on middle class, especially because there is a lot of expense on conveyance, which is something that even the consumer expenditure survey showed?
Yeah, I would like to say that, first of all, the BJP government should first roll back the prices all over the country, because the OPEC prices have gone down. It should match with what the Congress government the UPA government was providing to the people in India between 2004 and 14. If that rollback happens, I think the other Congress-ruled states also would be rolling back the prices. So my request would be to see that the government of India first rolls back the prices, which has been stagnant for a long time. Even if you see countries like USA, Japan, and other countries, their prices keep changing day on and day off.
Right.
Now, increase of the Karnataka government is obvious, because all the non-BJP government, they don't get proper support from the central government. So I would support it that all non-Congress, BJP ruled states should first reduce.
Okay.
And automatically the Congress government will get reduced.
Right, that's a good point, Mr. Irfan, emphasizing on the role of the centre in fuel prices being steady. Also, we have a caller from Bengaluru, RM Raj. Sir, tell us a little bit about the kind of expenditure that you will incur on conveyance and also on your transportation, even as the fuel prices have been increased in your state.
Good evening to you.
Yes, sir, please go on.
Yeah, see, actually, this is the third one. They hiked the tariff on the electricity. Okay.
Right.
And they hiked the tariff on the stamp pending non-judicial papers. Now this is on fuel. Next on property. I don't know next where you're going to stand. But please, 10% people, 90% like us, middle class should suffer for to please 10% people to fulfill their promises, ma'am.
Thank you, RM Raj, for calling us. We also have Dr. Khalid calling us from Kashmir. Tell us your views, sir. Karnataka is far away from Kashmir, but of course, fuel prices, the increase in fuel prices is something that we've all experienced. What are your views, sir?
Good evening to everybody there on the show. I'm highly thankful to NDTV, and actually I was just going through the caption that was being shown on the bottom of the screen, wherein it was highlighted that how bad is the middle class hit. So in this regard, my opinion is that fuel prices across the country are exorbitantly high, number one. And number two is that the middle class hasn't to just bear their monthly expenses on the fuel alone. There are a number of other things that have to be borne in mind. For example, on an average, a person like me who is living in a smaller town like Anantnag spends not less than 70,000 rupees per month on his domestic expenses, and 18% of that goes to GST. And then annually I am supposed to pay income tax on that amount too. Besides that, as you rightly said, that a common man's expenses will go exorbitantly high whenever this rise takes place in fuel. Governmentals do need, I do understand as a common citizen, as a student of social sciences, that governmentals do need to raise revenues, but they should keep in mind that revenues need to be generated in such a way that middle class alone isn't affected, because resources are of the country and they are supposed to be judiciously used for the betterment of maximum to the maximum extent.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Khalid, for calling in. Also, closing remarks from Raj Lakshmi. Clearly, you heard the callers out. There seems to be an aspirational middle class that is growing. Jobs are in faraway places. The expenditure on commute is only increasing. Tell us, what do you think of this? What are the things that governments have to be mindful of when they think about balancing welfare with the other kind of work, including development?
Vasudha, I'd like to come in for 30 seconds.
Yes. I'll come to you after Raj Lakshmi finishes.
Sure.
Yes, you use the right word, welfare. There is a huge difference between welfare and freebies. Now, this thing about welfare is quite different from freebies, in the sense that, freebies is something that it's like a carrot given just for the sake of getting votes. Now, there were a lot of these guarantees that were given out without any thought to how the revenue will be generated. Now, for example, there was this scheme. I'm talking about the state elections. Just before the state elections, there were these guarantees about giving 10 kilos of free rice. Now, after that, what happens is, after they win the elections, they look to the center for subsidies. They look to the center for everything. So that, you cannot be reliant on something else. You cannot be reliant on some other factors to be able to promise something to your people. Now, again, there is this thing about all these 5 guarantees. Now, look at it. Now, Mr. Siddaramaiah, before the elections, he talks about how Mr. Bommai should be reducing 3 rupees, and the same person, he increases the rates by 3 rupees in the fuel prices. So, that is something that is totally hypocritical. And again, there is this increase in the electricity rates as well. Electricity prices have been raised by 2.4 rupees. Then there is this vehicle registration fees that is raised by 3%. Milk prices have been raised by 3 rupees. So you tell me that how are these people going to be able to hold all of this? So you can...
Yes, Mr. Abbas, your closing remarks, but let me also tell you that, I wouldn't want to completely blame welfare for this, because, a move like making bus travel free for women actually, is a very productive move. It increases confidence of women, mobility of women. So there are some moves which are very important. But like you said, the electricity tariffs, Abbas, would you think that
the woman gets a free ride, but the man pays for the extra?
Can I make
that is
yes, Abbas, would you say that, the Congress government also probably needs to find more revenue generating sources, and it needs to sort of set a different narrative, or at least explain its position better, because clearly some things are not working out?
Vasudha ji, you're absolutely right about the Nari Shakti scheme, which is free bus rides for women across the length and breadth of Karnataka. And mind you, it's worked in wondrous ways. It may not affect the high class or the rich class, but it has certainly rung a bell with the middle class and the low middle class income space. Also, as a matter of fact, we need to understand that Raj Lakshmi ji, who's supporting the BJP today, ma'am, you've not read the Karnataka BJP manifesto. You also in the 23 election mentioned that 5 kg of rice will be given and a liter of milk. Aap kare to pyar, Congress kare to war, ye kaisa atyachar. Also, Vasudha ji, the long-term, I would say, process will be the state government and the central government need to come together. As a matter of fact, when world over, the petrol, diesel prices are going less, why is it going high in India? So therefore, the Bharatiya Janata Party at the center, along with the state governments across the length and breadth of our beautiful country, must come together for a conclusive solution for the well-being of the people of the country. That would be the way ahead. That would be the real answer for Viksit Bharat.
Thank you, Abbas. Thank you, Raj Lakshmi, for joining us. Clearly, even as governments lash out at each other for competitive welfare moves, Karnataka government has hiked fuel prices, both of petrol and diesel, and the impact on household expenses is something that we heard callers voice out.